All right, well, welcome back. That's all for our interview with Mayor Okun and Entertainment. And we're going to be switching gears now. We're way completely from that, and we're going to be talking etiquette. And I have here with me someone who will be teaching us a few things on how to take care of ourselves. Kio Ayanate, thanks for being here today. You're an etiquette coach. It's something that I'm starting to hear a bit more often these days than not. You know, what is an etiquette coach? And why is that important these days?
You know, when you talk about one being an etiquette coach, you have to, it's someone that, to an extent, let people know what they will do at the point that they have to do it. You're just majorly directing people to do things rightly. Okay.
We're going to be talking about taking care of our bodies now, and it's something that might seem like a funny topic. We're talking about body odors, you know, and all of that, and it might seem very trivial, but at the same time, it's also very important because we've seen people. I mean, I did hear a story about someone losing their job. I read about people who've lost their partners because of, you know, that condition. It can be a condition sometimes. Sometimes it's not. It's just maybe a little more care. What are the causes of body odor? What are some things that might contribute to that way become sort of a permanent thing?
You know, when you are going to talk about body odor, I would like to start by saying that body odor is that offensive smell that you perceive when someone is around you. And, you know, that smell sometimes it can get you off. You just feel like throwing up. You don't even want the person to stay so long around you. And it occurs in diverse forms. You can have it occur in the armpits. You can have it occur in the genital area, and the feet too is also a part that's where it can occur. You know, and if you look at it, because there are different parts, different things actually result to it. Different thing will cause it. Yeah. For the fruit, if the shoes are wet, and then you put your leg into it, and then you wear it all day, you don't sun it, you put it on the next day with your socks. You know, gradually, because you're doing it all the time, you have been using it without sunning it. Before you know it, it begins to smell. And when you're in the public, you take off your shoe, and everybody will be like...
I think we've all smelled that at some point from someone.
Be like, can't you just put your legs back? And then for the one that comes with the armpit, it can be caused when you don't shave, you don't wash properly, you don't use deodorant, and you just discover that it builds. It begins to, just like maturity, when a child is born, the child will, you know, become stronger and stronger. And there's another one that is also kind of popular. That's the mouth odor. That one too. It's, you know, particularly when the person is close to you. And you know, for me, I see it like the one for the body odor attracts so much everybody at the same time. But for the mouth odor, if you don't open your mouth, I don't know. Do you understand? Yeah. But for the body odor, immediately you get there, everybody perceives it. So for the mouth odor, you keep closing your mouth, nobody knows until you say hello. And then you said hello. Instead of me replying hi, you know, with smiles, and I just said, fine.
You know, there's a problem.
You know,
so is it always a hygiene issue, or could it be a medical condition?
Sometimes it's hygiene, and then sometimes it's actually medical. When it's medical, I will advise, or I usually advise that you make sure that you see the person. But at what point will you know that it's medical? I was going to say, so how do you know when it's medical? Sometimes you know that you have a hole in the teeth, in between your teeth, and then when you take anything, it just stores in. So you're not able to either wash it, you know, properly and all that. So you can go to the clinic and it will be filled, and you'll probably, there's a way to clean it, and it will be cleaned properly. But if it's hygiene, it's a personal responsibility now. Then you have to brush twice minimum a day, in the morning and last thing at night. I said last thing at night because if you say at night, some people would just say, I can brush at night and then eat after.
It has to be the last thing.
It has to be the last thing before you go to bed. And then mouthwash too can be recommended.
Yeah. I mean, people have said that Nigeria's situation contributes a lot to why maybe we do have that a lot here. You know, our power issues, for example, people sweat a lot as a result. So maybe that's why you find that maybe body odors are prevalent. You know, we don't have light enough sometimes to wash properly and sun. You know, stuff like that. Are those excuses viable, or are we just making excuses?
I just think we're just making excuses. Because if I want to go out, like the way you're looking now, you're looking good. There was no light, but you knew that I have to just look good. And then you took responsibility. So it's about us taking responsibility. It's my body, it's your body. So you have to take responsibility to ensure that the body is actually presentable. You know, you were talking about one losing the person's clients. I actually work as a client representative, and you know, somehow, when you're meeting some of the clients, and you get there, and if they notice that the atmosphere has changed, positively or negatively, so if you use deodorant or you're using a perfume, it will be a positive aroma, and if the otherwise, the next time you come, I will try to avoid you. And if it's a contract you're bidding for, I met you the first time. The second time, I don't want to meet you again. So you don't even have the opportunity to tender your quotation. I was also going to say that one of the days I went to the salon, and then the person is washing my hair. And then because the person is like this, trying to wash, and it was just oozing out. I was like, God, can this just be over? And I tried to be calm, but at the point I said, please hold on, can I just take some breath? But I'm sure the person didn't know why. Okay?
Which is a question I also want to ask now. So how do you tell? I mean, I think with friends it's even awkward having that conversation. You know, it's probably easier, but it's still an awkward conversation to have. Say, my guy, you for shave small. You know, I mean, it's not a very comfortable conversation to have. Not to talk of like in a workplace. How do you tell a colleague who has that sort of a problem and you've noticed it over time? At what point do you say, okay, come, let's have this conversation, and without making the person embarrassed, you know, or a stranger even, like you said, with the salon situation, where someone is in your space and has to be in your space, but you're obviously uncomfortable by it. How do you have that conversation?
In the first place, everything has to do with approach. And then you have to also discover the level of relationship you have with the person. So if I'm going to tell you, it's different from the way I would tell my friend. Because to an extent, my friend, he's my friend. So when they said friends, they are open to one another, I should be able to tell you that, guy, this thing, you know. And if I'm not able to tell you, you're not my friend. Okay? And another scenario that, you know, played in my head.
Let's just take a break now. We'll talk about your scenario. We'll take a quick break now. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. I'm sure you're all enjoying this at home. Please keep your pens out. You may want to take a few notes. We'll be right back.